What's doing, everybody? Welcome to First Class Fatherhood. I'm Alec, and before I hit you with today's interview, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the link in the description so you can listen to all of the interviews I've done with so many tremendous dads, including Dana White, Deion Sanders, Tony Hawk, and so many others. Now let's get going with today's interview. All right, joining me now, First Class Father, Kilay Reinfeld. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you, Alec. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, let's start right here. How many kids do you have and how old are they?
Got a couple kids. One's 3. Kazia, my daughter's 3. She's the youngest one. And then a 5-year-old, little Ezra.
Okay, you going for the third here, or are you all done?
Oof, I don't know. It's an ongoing conversation. You know, I think a month ago we were leaning towards yes. Today we're leaning towards hell no, but we'll see how things go.
Did you do any type of gender reveal to find out what you were having both times? Did you wait to the end? How did you work that out?
No, we first doctor appointment where they asked, we were just like, give it to us. We were okay with knowing right away, and I'm one of those guys who wanted to be at every single one of the appointments, and I wanted to know, and I wanted to plan, and I wanted to have the room ready, and I wanted, so no reveals late.
Okay, good enough. If you could, Kilay, please just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Latin America, in Venezuela, actually, which is now kind of a little bit of a mess. When I was born, my parents moved me to the island of St. Martin for about 5 years, which is really the beginning of my life was there. When we went back to Venezuela, things started to get politically not good, right? And my parents decided to move to the States, to America, when I was about 10. It was kind of tough, but I loved it. And I really discovered kind of my life passions during those first few years, which was really in technology, sports, and business. Those were 3 areas of life that I found very attracted to. I've been an entrepreneur really my entire life. I've started a whole bunch of businesses, fell on my face a whole bunch of times, as most should, I think, if you want to take that path. I used to sell drawings and shoelace keychains to my family members when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, just to make an extra couple bucks. And of course they bought them because they had to. And then I discovered computers at around 13 or so, and I was the nerd or the dorky guy who everybody made fun of. And that changed also very quickly once computers became cool and the internet became this thing. When I was 18 or so, I launched my first official company, which was a web hosting company. I grew that for about 2 years, sold it when I was 20-ish, almost 21. Then I bought a car, moved from Hollywood, Florida to Hollywood, California. Those are actually the 2 cities that I went from and to. And I got a job there with this company. It was an internet franchise, and it was going broke after 6 months. And they moved me to California to take that job. And then I put my head down and came up with this new concept of eBay drop-off stores. I don't know if you remember the 40-year-old virgin. We had spoken to them about working together too, but it was really a retail place where people could bring their stuff and drop it off and sell it. And we were a franchise model, so learned a lot about franchising, learned a lot about business technology there as well. That went on for quite a while, and then after that, I did a bunch of other businesses. I launched a travel-based business where we did activities, kind of like Expedia, but for activities, things to do. And then after that, launched a music festival. Actually, I was co-founder of a music festival in Morocco, which is still going on today. It's a 3-day deep house music festival. This is the 6th year. And in between that's actually right after I started that is when I had my first child. And the constant commute from California to Morocco started to become more and more difficult. My focus was really my children. And although that was a big passion and love, and I'm still a co-founder, I actually sold my stake to the other partners out of just respect to them, to now hold on to that. Although I'm still very close with all of them. And that sort of brings me to today, where I'm currently the partner and president of Paradigm Sports Management. It's basically the premier combat sports management firm in the world right now, I would say. Just quick and easy.
Yeah, very cool. What an impressive resume there, Kilay. And so then how old were you then when you first became a father, and how did becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
I think I was 32. And I've wanted to be a dad pretty much my whole life. I mean, I remember being 18, 19, just saying, okay, I don't know when, but I want to be a dad. I've always had an attraction to that concept, I think. So I don't think it changed my perspective in life per se. I've always had the same perspective, but what it definitely changed or altered a lot was my risk tolerance. I think that was probably what I've noticed the most is I drive more carefully. I spend more wisely. I save more often. I take less risks in business. You know, Adi Attar, who I think you may have spoken to, the CEO of Paradigm Sports Management. Him and I have been friends for a very long time, and he always offered me a position or a job over the years, and I've always been so entrepreneurial. It's like I have to start my own thing. I have to start my own business. And then I had kids, and Audie and Paradigm Sports was also in a good place. It was right around the time of Mayweather McGregor fight, and again, I had a child. I had just sold my stake in Oasis, and then he offered me a job, and I was like, okay, I don't have to like put everybody's weight on my back and be that person who takes care of everyone. Although here, fast forward a few years, that's sort of the position I have now today too within the company, where I take care of the team and really all of us. So I think that's just part of my blood. But yeah, less risk.
Yeah, very cool, Kilay. And you know what? I mean, you got into this, I mean, very early on here with the whole computer industry and the websites, and everything has just really changed the game as far as the way people are making money today. I mean, it's responsible for so much of so many people's income. And a lot of young kids, they're on there, and it's like a lot of people, especially we see things like TikTok and Snapchat, they're creative in the sense that they're creating content, but they're not really making a score as far as that entrepreneurial route. So, like, what advice do you have for like parents that have kids that are very computer savvy, content making savvy? What direction should they go in order to try to find a way to start a business? What's the best way for them to try to make some money in an entrepreneurial way online?
It's a great question. I mean, I think the first thing is figure out what your passion is, right? That's the hardest part. I've had a lot of people ask me before, like, "Oh, how do I start a business?" And I think that the most important part is know what you want to do and know what you care about and what you have a passion for, regardless of what it is. Computer, the internet, those are all they're tools, right? So understanding that it's not like in the early 90s. I remember when this all started, it was like, oh, you put up a website and you wait. And that was like the commercials they were putting up, you know, if you put it up, you wait and all this stuff happens, right? Where I think today it's a lot more focused and honed into the idea of you have to really know what you want to do, and you have to do it the same way online and on the computer than you would doing retail, or you would doing it anyway. You have to really put the time and effort into what you want, and just use the tools out there as a tool, not as this magical wand that's just going to make it happen, right? You still have to put in the time.
Yeah, well said. And I think, too, it's one of the best things is that it gives the opportunity to everybody. It's kind of a level playing field almost in a sense where everybody has the same opportunity here to make a score. And so one of the questions I bring out a lot of entrepreneurs on the show that have had massive success, yourself included here. Do you think college? I mean, so many parents will hit me up. Their kids are buried in college debt. The parents are buried in debt. Do you see college as a real necessity for kids in order to succeed in today's world?
Yes and no. Depends on the kid. I think it depends on the person and their character and their way of doing anything in general. My wife couldn't have made it without going to school, right? She's a psychologist. She's a doctor. She needed that degree to do what her passion was, right? I dropped out of high school in 10th grade, and by the time my colleagues were in 11th, I was in college. I did college, I got my GED right away. Nobody understood what was going on. And there I was in college. I did that for about a year and I dropped out of that too. And I couldn't stand it. In that whole process, I had already started multiple businesses. I was making more money than most of my friends doing whatever I wanted. But I'm always learning, right? I'm reading every single day of my life. I'm always diving into tech, and I opened up Photoshop when I was like 12 and learned it. And so I had a big passion for learning on my own. I think that's the tough part with college is not everyone can do that, but anyone who knows what they want and who can continue to learn can do that. So I just think it depends a lot on the person and their character.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I'm like you in a sense where I'm a huge reader. I read at least a book every week, and I'm always I got a real thirst for knowledge myself now that I didn't have when I was a lot younger. And I just think that I wish that some of these principles, like you said, you were starting multiple businesses at the time where you were going to college, and a lot of people would have no idea where to even begin, and a lot of that stuff's not taught in college. But we can find those resources now online in a multiple ways just by who we follow on social media. It can be sometimes a much bigger help than a professor. In a lot of ways, I think, anyway.
I chatted a lot when I was a kid, by the way. That was something there was something called MERC or IRC Internet Relay Chat when I was young. There was like just chat rooms, right? Full of name the topic. It was topic based, kind of like hashtags. And I would go a lot on those and ask questions. I'd just try to find anyone who could answer my questions. And you'd start doing any task, and if I couldn't figure it out, I would just start asking people, right? And AOL had chat rooms too, and I'd try those too. And once in a while, I'd get somebody who'd answer.
Yeah, and I think the problem with that is that the good and the bad is that there's so many things that sidetrack you. Like you start getting into chat rooms, a lot of them are just a lot of nonsense, and you never know who's who, and you got so much negativity that's on there. If you can manage to avoid that and just seek the gold nuggets that are on there, I mean, it's really the sky is the limit for what you can learn on there. And let me bring this back into you here as a dad. What are some of the top values that you're hoping to instill in your kids?
Kindness and respect. I think those are the two biggest things really that both my wife and I feel very strongly about. If you can go through life being kind and respectful, you're kind of good, right? The rest all is an ebb and flow, and it'll come and go. But the just making sure that they're always kind and have respect is probably what we always bring the focus back onto. It's interesting, and I'm so thankful that I have two right now, and that they get to be with each other during this whole sort of shelter at home process. I can't imagine how tough it is for single children that are kind of alone at home right now, but it's allowed us, because of their own frustrations of wanting to go out or wanting to do this or that, or that being at home and stuck at home. Their wick is shorter. We always say in Spanish, but they tend to get antsy and edgy, and they want to fight and they want to argue. And we always laugh and tell them, "You guys can fight and argue all day long as you're kind." And they kind of get confused about that, but it's definitely those two. Those are the two biggest things.
Yeah, you alluded there too to the pandemic. Obviously, right now, hopefully, when I do put this out, it will be in a better place. I would pray. But right now, we're kind of in the thick of this whole pandemic, the coronavirus thing. How has that affected? I know you said your wife is in the mental health career. How has it affected what you do, and how has it affected what her do, and how are you guys managing the whole thing?
I mean, that's a good question. With sports, obviously, sports is shut down. We are lucky to have a great business that we've built over the years, and that we can hold strong and continue to work. Everybody's working at home. From our point of view, Audie and I made the decision to shelter at home about a week and a half before anyone else did. And everybody thought we were crazy, and now everyone's like thankful. But we started doing the whole Zoom thing and the video calling and probably like a lot of people are today, and that's worked really well for us. My wife, her company originally had no stay at home at all. Everybody had to go to the office. She has about 70 employees herself. But that's been cut down over time. Now they only have to go 3 days a week for 4 hours a day. But same thing with her. She's doing daily Zoom calls with her team, and the juggle with the kids is probably the more challenging part. They don't care very much about jobs and careers. They just want all their attention to themselves. But one thing I absolutely love about this whole process is that no meeting, no moment, everyone understands, right? There's no moment when anybody gets upset that your kid pops behind you in the camera, or whereas before all of this, it was like it was considered unprofessional if your child popped up, and I was always very turned off by that. Like, oh, it's a human, it's my little human. Like, why is that unprofessional, right? But now it's accepted, so I'm kind of hoping that after all this, it's kind of a norm, right? My wife's downstairs right now having her morning call, and my kid's on the iPad on Zoom right next to her, and no one has an issue that they're talking over each other, and it's really nice in that sense. I love that part.
Yeah, I do as well, and I think it's really stripped away a lot of the stuff that we thought was so important, and we found out, through this experience, it really wasn't. And I think hopefully, my prayer is that it's brought families a lot closer together, that we've had this opportunity to spend this time together. And I'm sure, speaking to an entrepreneur here, there's going to be millions of opportunities that this is going to bring to light here as this thing starts to clear up, the economy starts to get going again. So, I think right now the time is right to either learn, change, grow, develop, and try to find, some type of new way. So I'm hopeful for that. What about what's next for you here, Kilay? You've had so much success already, started multiple companies. You're kind of in a good fit here with the Paradigm Sports. What do you have? What kind of goals or plans do you have for yourself for the future?
It's a good question. Look, I think from a business perspective, I'd love to continue to establish our company as a leader in global combat sports. As I said earlier, early on in life, sports, technology, and business were really my core. I loved baseball. I played baseball a lot. I didn't say that earlier, but today I have found all of those really connected and intertwined in what I'm doing. So I don't see myself really doing anything else at this point. Who knows what the future holds? I've learned that many ways. And look, really continue to build this amazing multicultural team that I absolutely love right now. Continue to drive profitability to the company and really keep growing. Open up one of the cool things is I'm entrepreneurial. Is this company allows us to open ventures, right? We launched a whiskey company. We have a fashion brand. We're looking into a gym franchise. Like, there's all these amazing ventures that we can do. So it feeds that entrepreneurial spirit that I have. And if I had to put one specific goal to Paradigm, it's probably an unspoken one, but I'd like to one day wake up and Paradigm Sports be considered one of the best companies to work for in the world, right? Maybe in the U.S. first and then the world. But that's an accolade I'd like to get to at some point. And then I think on a personal or parenting, I'd like to continue to really work with my wife to communicate openly with my kids. We speak to them like many adults. We don't baby talk them ever, and try to get them to be two really warm and amazing hearted humans. That's the goal with them.
Yeah, good stuff. I love the vision there, Kilay, and you probably touched on it a bit there, but the last thing I want to hit you with here, I'd love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for the new dad or for that about-to-be father who's out there listening?
You'll never be ready, no matter what. If you're a new dad or wanting to become a dad, don't wait for until I'm ready BS. There's no such thing. Patience and communication, that's probably the two biggest things. Don't get frustrated. I think little kids they have this amazing skill at figuring out exactly what frustrates you, and they're going to poke at that button as much as possible. And the more you let it, the harder it becomes. So don't get frustrated, communicate, and speak to them like I think I just said that, like little mini adults, right? I see so many parents at school that will have a conversation with you and they'll turn around to their kid and their kid's 5 and they're like, and they start talking and you're just like, Why are you talking to them like that? And I think, a lot of our teachers now tell us, oh my God, your two kids are so mature. They're so amazing, this and that. They're so advanced. I'm like, no, they just talk normal, you know? But that would probably be it. Patience and communication, just be you, be normal.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Kilay Reinfeld, you're a first-class father
Alec.
all the way. And thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time on First Class Fatherhood.
Yeah, Alec, appreciate your time, man. Have a great, great day and the rest of the week.